I would love to be a well-educated black.
The reason he gives shows more than racism. It points to hidden tricks behind Trump's wealth, the ever-increasing wealth of the top 1%, and the striking gap between black and white households. We'll also show how much he's increased racism. Research has found a striking answer, which might change how you see America.
Very little money from my father.
Trump received around $400 million worth of property from his father. Having sold it, his largest source of income is now golf courses. He's visited them 270 times since taking office, costing the taxpayer around $140 million. Trump's clubs charge for the trips, and he cheats wildly.
He cheats like a mafia accountant. Like, he cheats crazy. He cheats whether you're watching or not.
Is there a time he was in Philadelphia and he claims he won a club championship in Bedminster?
Yeah.
What happened?
And he says, hey, what won the club championship? And they said, oh, Joe Schmo shot 74. He goes, well, I shot 72 today. Make me the club champion. And the guy's like, what? Yeah, make me the club champion. And so they take Joe's name off and put Trump's up.
Similar tricks tilt America's playing field, and Trump takes them to the extreme. He trades on an image of hard-earned success.
It's not been easy for me. It has not been easy for me.
But in 1997, Trump's parents completed the transfer of 6,000 New York apartments worth $41 million. Or at least that's what they claimed they were worth. 8 years later, the same properties sold for $670 million, saving hundreds of millions in inheritance tax.
I mean, my whole life really has been a no, and I fought through it.
Trump has doubled the estate tax threshold, which has a powerful hidden effect.
Of the Forbes 400, only 0.25% are African American. And to answer your question, yes, it's Oprah. Oprah is the person. You were right. Good guess.
Trump came to fame through a book, which was #1 on the New York Times bestseller list for 13 weeks. But he didn't write it. He chose an author on a whim to write it in his name.
If you're going to write a book, I said spontaneously, you ought to call it The Art of the Deal.
The Art of Inheritance wouldn't have sold so well.
The title had just popped into my head. I like that, Trump said. You want to write it?
Trump used darker name-switching tricks with his foundation. $2 million raised for veterans was allocated through Trump's election campaign. And once elected, the rule-breaker-in-chief sent the federal officers who attacked this veteran for standing still. In one day of protests, police partially blinded 8 people with less lethal weapons. Trump denies the problem that sparked these protests.
Why are African Americans still dying at the hands of law enforcement in this country?
And so are white people. So are white people. What a terrible question to ask. So are white people. More white people, by the way. More white people.
In fact, police kill a disproportionate number of black people. Black victims are also more likely than whites to have been unarmed. Trump's false narrative isn't new. He tweeted these fake gun crime statistics, painting blacks as the cause of nearly all white deaths. The true numbers show the scale of deception. And Trump's favorite channel helps hide the truth.
We have a chance to rip the roots of systemic racism out of this country.
Systemic racism? Something you can't even define, that has no real definition? Really?
It's defined as racism that is embedded as normal practice, like a racist was embedded as Carlson's scriptwriter. The Muppets fought media racism.
What we are seeing is people saying enough is enough.
Remember, kids, studies show that people who watch Fox News are less informed than people who don't watch any news. Don't let the anti-Muppets eat your brain. The evidence is clear. With 2 identical CVs, a black-sounding name is a major disadvantage. And the level of discrimination hasn't changed in 30 years. Many black students now use more American-sounding names on their CVs, and it works, increasing their chances of an interview. Trump often boasts of reducing unemployment for blacks, but it was a long-term trend, until his deadly coronavirus game reversed a decade of progress. In court, black people receive longer prison sentences than white people for the same crimes, while the wealthy have a trick to cover their tracks.
Every time he says, I never cheat. So I snuck into the Bedminster Caddyshack. And I said, the president says he never cheats. And they all go, no, he never cheats. And then there was this silence, and I go, oh, you guys cheat for him. And they all laughed, and they told they have 3 or 4 balls in the pocket. They throw it out of bunkers because he hates bunker shots. They throw it out of the rough.
Trump's associates have been jailed for a laundry list of cheating and lying. His biggest lies, painting black people as dangerous and the virus as harmless, involve cheating America.
We show cases, 99% of which are totally harmless. Angry mobs are trying to tear down statues and unleash a wave of violent crime.
As long as they are hurting innocent citizens, the moms, the dads, everybody's coming out.
And we're going to continue doing it peacefully.
So how did Trump's father, Fred, acquire his property? With government loans and subsidies denied to blacks. And like Trump, he faced legal action for denying black people access to the properties. The government money behind Trump created the stark wealth gap, which has barely changed in 40 years. Decades of bias was finally addressed in the Fair Housing Act, which Trump removed with more than a dog whistle.
I've seen conflict for years. It's been hell for suburbia. We rescinded the rule 3 days ago, so enjoy your life, ladies and gentlemen.
The White House has taken on a dark double meaning. It can be easier to find an orange person than a black person.
Sometimes a black may think that they don't really have the advantage or this or that, but in actuality, today, currently, it's a great, I've said on occasion, even about myself, if I were starting off today, I would love to be a well-educated black because I really believe they do have an actual advantage today.
When Trump retweeted a video of someone shouting white power,
white power! White power!
Officials struggled to reach him on the golf course. But has he made America more racist? Researchers were surprised to find the opposite. While he has activated a minority, increasing hate crime, most have woken up to the shocking extent of systemic racism and stand more firmly against it. Langston Hughes wrote, "Oh, let America be America again, the land that never has been yet, and yet must be." Of course, everyone has their own struggles.
It is not normal for people to cover their faces. It is an act of submission, subjugation, of slavery, of shame. CDC, well, this is my face covering. I protest face coverings. I am a healthy American. I used to be free. I am a proud Trump Republican, yearning to be free again. Let liberty ring.